Hello friends, today I start with the same chapter, that is transition and inner transition element. But as we continue for the extraction of iron in our last lecture, that we just continue in this lecture also. Okay, so we start with the extraction of your iron from hematite ore. As you studied in last lecture, we just see the steps which is involved in extraction of your iron from hematite ore. In that, first we see the concentration, then roasting and reduction. Then for reduction we require blast furnace. Okay, and that blast furnace is as shown in this figure. Okay, see this blast furnace very well. Okay, and that blast furnace also have a three parts: hearth, bosch and stack. Okay, and that and the reaction involved in this blast furnace that we have to see in this lecture also. So now see reaction in a blast furnace. So there are a different temperature zone. If you see in the diagram very well, there is a different temperature. Okay, and that different temperature is for a different reactions. The temperature goes on increasing from top to bottom. If you see carefully the diagram, so what is your observation? Your temperature goes on increasing, that is from top to bottom in the furnace. Okay, at the top, what is the temperature? That is 500 Kelvin. Okay, and maximum temperature in the furnace, that is up to 2000 Kelvin above the tires. Okay, so there are three temperature zone here. So which temperature zone we have to study? First is a zone of combustion, that is combustion of a coke with oxygen in air. Okay, second one is a zone of reduction, where you carried out the reduction of your Fe2O3 to metallic ion. And third zone is the zone of your slag formation, means formation of a slag by reaction with the gangue with the limestone. Now as you seen in the charge only, we are taking limestone. So that is a basic flux which we are using for a formation of a slag. Okay, by reaction with a gangue. Now we have to see the chemical reaction taking place in a different zone of a blast furnace. So first we taken that is zone of combustion. As you discussed, that is our first zone. So in zone of combustion, what happened? There is a height. This is a height of a 5 to 10 meter from the bottom. Okay. So in that case, your hot air blown through a tires react with the coke from the charge to form CO. As you know, in charge there is a coke also. Okay, so what happened? Your charge is coming from the top, and at the same time at the bottom you pass a hot air. Okay, and that hot air react with the coke, so you get a carbon monoxide from that. So C plus half O2 gives you CO. So delta H is minus 220 kilojoules. So this is exothermic reaction. So thus the temperature of this zone is what? That is up to 2000 Kelvin. Means around 2000 Kelvin there is a temperature at this zone. Now some of a CO form will dissociate to a finely divided carbon here. Means CO get converted into C plus O2. Now the hot gas which reach in a CO rises upward in a blast furnace, and the charge coming down get heated and react with the CO. Okay, so in this case your CO act as a fuel also and as a reducing agent also. So in exam may they ask you the CO act as a fuel and as a reducing agent in a zone combustion. So you have to give this reaction. Okay, means carbon react with the O2, you get CO, and that CO is converted into carbon. Now that CO, which is the CO formation, is an exothermic reaction, so that's why the temperature maintained between 2000 Kelvin. Okay, and that CO once again when rises up in the blast furnace, so that react with your charge. Okay, so this is our zone combustion. Okay, now next we start with the zone of reduction, whose height is what, 20 to 25 meter near the top. Okay, so first height is what, 5 to 10 meter, that is from the bottom. But zone of reduction, that is 20 to 25 meter near the top. So what happened at this zone, the temperature is around 900 Kelvin. Now your Fe2O3 is reduced to spongy ion by your using carbon monoxide. So Fe2O3 plus 3 times CO, you get Fe plus 3 times CO2 here. Now some amount of Fe2CO3, okay, is reduced to ion by carbon also. Means in this case there is a iron carbonate also, and which get reduced to Fe by using carbon as a reducing agent. Means for Fe2O3 we are using CO as a reducing agent, which reduces Fe2O3 to Fe, and for Fe2CO3 we are using carbon as a reducing agent, where it reduces Fe2CO3 to Fe. Now third zone is a zone of slag formation. Okay, that is 20 meter in height. Now what happened at this zone, the gangue present in the ore get converted into slag. Okay, and the slag can be used for making road foundation. So temperature of this zone is 1200 Kelvin. Now the gangue means that containing your silica, alumina and phosphate. A removal of this gangue is effected by adding limestone in the charge. Okay, so which act as a flux here. Okay, so see, the gangue contain silica, alumina and phosphate. So removal of this gangue is effected by adding limestone in the charge, which act as a flux. Now what happen, your limestone, that is decomposes to quicklime, that is CaO. Okay, and that CaO means CaCO3 gives you CaO plus CO2, and that CaO combined with a gangue to form a molten slag of a calcium silicate and calcium aluminate. See, you have a silica, alumina and phosphate, that is your gangue which is present in a ore. So that silica, that is CaSiO2 react with the calcium oxide, that is quicklime, you get calcium silicate, and for alumina you reacted with calcium oxide, you get calcium aluminate, and oxygen is released. Now next is zone of fusion. This is our fourth zone. So in that what happened, zone of fusion, so you have a MnO2 and Ca3PO4 twice, which is present in a iron, and that are reduced to manganese and phosphorus. See, you have a manganese oxide and calcium phosphate in your ore, that is in your iron ore. So you have to reduce into manganese and phosphorus by taking suitable reducing agent, and some silica is also there that you have to reduce to silicon. So the spongy ion coming down in the furnace melt. So at the time of a melting, they may absorb impurities like carbon, silicon, manganese, phosphorus and sulfur. So that molten ion collected at the bottom in the furnace, so that slag which is lighter float on the surface of your molten ion. and molten slag and iron are collected through a separated outlet. Okay, if you see in that diagram, there is a separate outlet for a slag and separate outlet for a molten iron. And that molten iron now you have to pour into the molds. Okay, and this solid block are them called them as a pigs. Okay, and that is nothing but your the iron which containing 4% carbon. So when pig iron is remelted and run into mold and cool, so it become cast iron. Means from your blast furnace you get a pig iron that containing 4% carbon. But if you once again remelt that pig iron and molded and cooled, so you get a cast iron from that. Okay. Now the waste gases containing N2, CO, CO2 that escape through the outlet at the top, and these hot gases are used for preheating the blast of air. So see, in xenon fusion what you are carried out, you have to reduce the MnO2 and calcium phosphate impurities which is present in your iron ore to manganese and phosphorus, and at the same time you have to reduce silica to silicon. Okay, the spongy iron coming down in the furnace may absorb impurities like carbon, silicon, manganese, phosphorus and sulfur. Now this molten iron which is collected at the bottom have a different outlet than your slag. Okay, and that molten iron you have to pour into the mold, and that is nothing but called as a pig, and that pig iron containing 4% carbon, and when pig iron is remelted and you can mold once again and cool, you get a cast iron. Okay, and in this blast furnace there is a gas which containing N2, CO and CO2, and that is except through the at the top, and these hot gases are used for preheating the blast of air. Now next is refining. Now see, in refining, what is the pure iron can be obtained by electrolytic refining of your impure iron. Okay, so that or other method given in the flow chart. The choice of a extraction technique is given by the following factors. So which are the factors you are considering when you are doing the refining for a iron? So the first is what? Nature of a ore. Then second one is what? Availability and cost of your reducing agent. Okay. Then third one is what? Generally cheap coke is already used. And third one is availability of hydraulic power. Fourth one is what? Purity of your product required for the metals. Okay, then value of your product, value of byproduct. Means these are the factors which we are concerned when we are carried out any refining. So first one is nature of ore, second one is the availability and cost of your reducing agent. Generally cheap coke is used. Then third one is availability of hydraulic power, fourth one is purity of your product, and fifth one is value of a byproduct. Now your form of iron, that is nothing but cast iron, rough iron and now see this diagram. In this table at 500 Kelvin there is a loss of moisture from ore. At 900 Kelvin there is a reduction of ore by CO, so Fe2O3 get converted into Fe. At 1200 Kelvin there is a decomposition of lime, that is calcium carbonate gives you CaO and CO2. At 1500 Kelvin the reduction of ore by carbon, that is Fe2O3 gets converted into Fe. Then at 2000 Kelvin there is a fusion of iron and slag formation. Means your calcium oxide react with the silica, you get calcium silicate. Similarly, calcium oxide react with the alumina, you get calcium aluminate plus oxygen is evolve. Now we next start with the that is difference between cast iron, rough iron and steel. Now see this table. So cast iron is hard and brittle, contain 4% carbon. Then it used for making pipes, manufacturing of a automobiles part, automotive parts, pots, pans, utensils. Okay, this is the uses of your cast iron. Means cast iron is a hard and brittle, contain 4% carbon. Used for making pipes, manufacturing of automotive parts, pots, pans, and utensils. Next is rough iron. So rough iron is very soft, contain less than 0.2% carbon. See, as the percentage of carbon is decreases, your iron is soft in nature. So that's why whenever it is 0.2% carbon, so that is a very soft iron and used for making pipes, bars, for stay bolts, engine bolts and rivets. Then steel, which we are using in our day-to-day life, they are neither too hard nor too soft and contain 0.2 to 2% carbon and used in building infrastructure, tools, ship, automobiles, weapons, etc. Okay, so these are some uses and they can be distinguished between your iron, that is cast iron, rough iron and steel iron. So one thing is, remember, your cast iron is hard and brittle, your rough iron will be soft and steel will neither too hard nor too soft. Okay, the cast iron contains a highest percentage of carbon, rough iron will contain a less amount of carbon and steel will contain 0.2 to 2% carbon. Okay, and there are some application of this. Okay, now we start with our next part, that is inner transition F block element. Now in inner transition F block element, we have to cover lanthanoid and actinoid elements. Okay, so now see, as the element is a F block element, means what? The last electron enter into the F orbital, so they are called as a F block element. Now these elements are placed separately at the bottom of your periodic table. If you see periodic table, there is below 2 rows and that is nothing but your lanthanide and actinide, and they are a subset of a 6th and a 7th period. Now see, this is the different, means they are located at the bottom of your periodic table. See, this is a lanthanide series, first one is your lanthanide series and second one is your actinide series. Okay, now next is the, since F orbital lies much inside the d orbital in relation to the transition metal, F block element are called inner transition element. Okay, since the F orbital are still inside your d orbital, means d orbital is outside of your F orbital, so that's why the relation between your transition metal and the F block element are called as a, means in relative to the transition element you call them as a inner transition element because they are inside your d block. These elements have 1 to 14 electron because F orbital have a capacity of 1 to 14 electron. Okay, or 0 or 1 in their penultimate energy level and 2 electron in the outermost orbital. So lanthanide are characterized by gradual free filling of 4f and your actinide will characterized by filling 5 orbital. So when it is lanthanide, so your 4f orbital will fill, and whenever you have actinide, there is a 5f orbital which is fill. So in each f orbital you have a capacity, that is 14 electron can be accommodated, and there are 14 elements filling the f orbital in each series, means Lanthanide have a 14 element as well as your actinide having 14 element. Okay, and their relative energies of Nd and n-1 f orbital are very similar and are sensitive to the electronic configuration. Okay. Now properties of lanthanide. So what are the properties of lanthanide? So lanthanide are a soft metal with a silvery white color and moderate density of nearly 7 gram centimeter cube, okay, per centimeter cube, and color and brightness reduces on exposure to air. Second one, they are a good conductor of heat and electricity. Now next is they accept promethium. In lanthanide, all are non-radioactive in nature. Means promethium is one of the element out of 14 that is radioactive in nature. Now the atomic and ionic radii of this, means from lanthanum to lutetium, is decreases from lanthanide contraction. As in your lanthanide, first element is lanthanum, last element is lutetium. Okay, so there is a atomic and ionic radii decreases as the atomic number increases. So this is known as a lanthanide contractions. Now next is what? When it is binding to water is often found in product when isolated from aqueous solutions. Coordination number for lanthanide are greater than 6, typically 8, 9 and up to 12 it is found. Lanthanide are strongly paramagnetic. Okay. In lanthanum series, gadolinium become ferromagnetic, that is below 16 degree, and that is temperature is called as a Curie point. The other heavier lanthanoids, that is terbium, dysprosium, holmium, erbium, thallium, ytterbium, become ferromagnetic at much lower temperature, means below that temperature. Next, magnetic and optical properties are largely independent of environment, means they are similar spectra in gas as well as in solution as well as in a solid. Okay, so if you recollect these properties, so what are the properties? They are a soft metal with a silvery white color, they are a good conductor of a heat and electricity. Except promethium, all are non-radioactive in nature, and their atomic and ionic radii, when it is decreases from lanthanum to lutetium, it is called as a lanthanide contraction. And binding to water is very common and is found when isolated from aqueous solution. Coordination number is typically 8, 9 or up to 12. Okay, and the some element lanthanide are strongly paramagnetic, so gadolinium become ferromagnetic below 16 degree. So some other element which become ferromagnetic at much lower temperature than that. Magnetic and optical property are largely independent of a environment. Now see this electronic configuration and atomic ionic radii of lanthanide. Now if you have any general formula, general electronic configuration for this is what? That is electronic configuration of lanthanide. See, the xenon is a inert gas, then you write 4f 0 to 14, 5d 0 to 2 and 6s have a 2 electrons. Now we see the configuration for xenon also. So xenon, this is because 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d10, 4p6, 5s2, 4d10, 5p6, the electronic configuration of your xenon. So instead of that configuration, we just write xenon, and can be simplified electronic configuration as xenon 4f 0 to 14, 5d 0 to 2, 6s2. Now lanthanide involve gradual filling of your f orbital. Means from 0 to 14 your electron can accommodate in that f orbital. Okay. Now the energies of your 5d 4f orbital are very close. So for lanthanum 4f is slightly higher in energy than your 5d. Okay. Means the energy of your 5d and 4f orbital are very close. So the lanthanum 4f is slightly higher in energy than your 5d. The lanthanum has an electronic configuration that is xenon 6s2 5d1. Okay, and not xenon 6s2 4f1. Means your electron enter into the 5d orbital but not 4f, because your 4f is outer than your 5d. Okay. Now gadolinium and lutetium have a 5d1 electron to make f orbital half filled and full filled. When you see the table for electronic configuration, at that time to know that is gadolinium and lutetium have 5d1 electron because they make their 4f orbital half or fully filled to get extra stability. Now electronic configuration of lanthanide have variable occupancy, that is 4f 0 to 14 in a orbital. Okay. The number of electron in 6s orbital remain constant in a ground state. So the valence shell electronic configuration of this element can be represented as n-2 f 0 to 2 to 14 n-1 d 0 1 or 2 electron may be accommodated and ns2. Now see, if n, that is nothing but it is lanthanum is present in 6 period, so here 6s2. For d it is 6 minus 1 means it is 5d, and for f 6 minus 2, that is nothing but 4f. Now see this diagram, see this table. In this your element in lanthanum, that is first is lanthanum, cerium, then praseodymium, neodymium, promethium, samarium, europium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, holmium, erbium, thulium, ytterbium and lutetium. So there is a symbol for that. Okay, that you have to remember. dy means what, tb means what. Then atomic number, that is from 57 to 71. If you see the expected ground state and observed ground state. So for lanthanum, as they told you, that is the electron enter in 5d because 4f is outside, they have a higher energy than 5d. Okay, so their expected and observed are one and the same. Now see for cerium also. So what they just arrange, that is 4f1 5d1 6s2, because your 5d have a capacity that is 0, that may be 1, that may be 2 electron can be accommodated. Then for praseodymium, that is 4f3 6s2. So one and the same for observed and expected. Then for promethium, okay. Similarly, you can observe for your samarium, europium. One more thing, that is they told you for gadolinium and they told you for lutetium. Okay, gadolinium, in that there is a 4f 8 6s2. So you have to make them as a half filled. So what we do, 4f7 5d1 and 6s2. Okay. Similarly for lutetium also 4f14 5d1 6s2. Means you have to make your 4f orbital half filled or completely filled. So that is the case for gadolinium and lutetium. Okay. In rest of, whenever they don't write any FID, means that is the 5d 0. Okay. So then they gives you +2 oxidation state, +3 oxidation state. So for +2, so the electron can be goes from 6s2. Okay. Similarly for +3 also. Then gives you the atomic radii and ionic radii, as you can see from this table. Now next is ionization enthalpies. Okay, see this table. Ionization enthalpy of lanthanide in kilojoule per mole as shown in below figure. So now see, the elements start from lanthanum to lutetium. Atomic number is from 57 to 71. So if you observe the first ionization enthalpy, that is, there is not much difference, but starting from 538 there is some gradual decrease. Once again it start increasing from your samarium. Okay, then it start increasing and up to lutetium it is increasing. But what you have to make observation here, your IE1 is less than IE2, which is less than IE3. Okay, so IE is nothing but your ionization enthalpies. Now next is your oxidation state. For lanthanide, which common oxidation state they can be shown, so that you have also seen. So +3 oxidation state is the common to all elements, in which you have to lose 2 electron from S subshell and one of the electron that may be from your D block or maybe from F subshells. Okay. Next, the 4f electron are strongly screened by which orbital? That is your 5s and 5p orbital. So thus 4f electron are not involved in bonding. Beside this, some lanthanide showing +2 and +4. So see, one thing is, remember, in oxidation state +3 is the most common, and that 3 electrons can be lost from 2 from your S and 1 from your F or D. Okay, your 4f electron are strongly screened by your inner electron, that is 5s and 5p. But the 4f electron are not involved in bonding, since they are showing oxidation state. Some of the lanthanide showing +2 and +4 oxidation state. And in which cases they are formed? That is in F0, F7 and F14 configuration. Now for example, they give you cerium in +4, okay, and europium in +2, terbium is +4, ytterbium in +2. So refer table, electronic configuration and atomic radii. Now we have to see next property, that is color spectra, color and spectra. So see, some trivalent ion are color in solid state as well as in a solution. Okay, that is your lanthanum in +3 oxidation state are color in solid state as well as in a solution form. Okay, the color of lanthanide ion is due to FF transition. So as in your transition element also we see study, that is DD transition. So here the color is due to FF transition, which correspond to the energy in a visible region, means that absorb the color in a visible range. Okay, the color of ion having NF electron is about the same as those having 14 minus NF electron. Okay, where N is integer, that is from 1 to 13, means that NF electron is nothing but the number of your electrons. Now see this table, that is promethium in 3+ oxidation state, that is green in color. So here 4f2. Okay, so 4f2 means there is a 2 electrons, so 14 minus 2, so 12 is your answer. So then your Tm3+, which having 4f12 electron. So at that time it is a green in color only because it have a 12 electrons. So see, the number of unpaired electron here is a 12, so green color. So next is a NF electron is 12, so that's why your color will be green in color. Nd3+, so 4f3, so 14 minus 3, 11 is your answer. So pink is color. Okay, now next is atomic and ionic radii. So atomic and ionic radii. So that is very important because it is a lanthanide contraction, which is the favorite question in your board. So as we move along the lanthanide series, so what happened? There is a decrease in atomic and ionic radii. So this steady increase in atomic and ionic radii, it's called lanthanide contraction. So definition is asked in your exam also. What is lanthanide contraction? As we move along the lanthanide series, there is a decrease in atomic and ionic radii. Okay, and that steady decrease in atomic and ionic radii is called lanthanide contraction. Now once again we start. What is lanthanide contraction? That is when you move along lanthanide series, so there is a decrease in atomic and ionic radii. So this steady decrease in atomic and ionic radii is called lanthanide contraction. Okay, as we move from one element to another, so what happens? Your nuclear charges increases, okay, by 1 unit, because there is a 1 electron is added in each of the series. So now what happened? The new electron which are added to your same inner 4f subshell, so that 4f electron will be shielded, okay, and that shielding, due to the shielding, the nuclear charge is poor due to their diffuse nature. So with increase in atomic number and nuclear charge, the effective nuclear charge experienced by each 4f electron now increases, okay. So this is the reason why your atomic size and ionic radii will decreases as we move down, as we move across your lanthanide series, okay. Your 4f electron will be shielded and nuclear charge poorly owing to the diffuse nature, okay. So with increase in atomic number and nuclear charge, the effective nuclear charge experiences by each 4f electron will increase. So as a result, the whole 4f electron shell contract at each successive elements, okay. See this diagram. So your atomic and ionic radii will increases. Now effective magnetic moment of lanthanide in +3 oxidation state. So see this table, and in this table they given you the what is the unpaired electron and what is the observed magnetic moment for this, okay. So this can be explained. Just you start from lanthanum to lutetium, and the number of unpaired electron, that is from 0 to up to 7. There is a maximum unpaired electron. So once again it start decreasing, okay. And what is your observed magnetic moment for that element, you can see from this table, okay. Now we are seeing some applications of a lanthanide. So where we apply? So lanthanide compound are present in every household. Okay. So inside our television tube also. So when electrons are bombarded on certain fixed lanthanide compound, they emit visible light over a small wavelength range. Okay. So therefore the inside surface of a television tube or compound monitor is coated and with a tiny patches of a 3 different lanthanide composition to give 3 colors that make the color image. Now see this example, mixed oxides of europium and yttrium, okay. So release an intense red color. So when bombarded with a tiny with a high energies electrons, so the what happened in this case? Now this there is a electronics application where use lanthanide ion as a active ions in luminescent material. So first in every household, in television tube, and in also your in luminescent material also there is a lanthanide, okay. Now next is most notable application is neodymium YAG laser, means that is neodymium is doped with a yttrium aluminium garnet, Okay, and this is using then europium doped fiber amplifier are significant device in optical fiber communication system. Okay, and lanthanide are used in a hybrid car, superconductor and permanent magnets. So these are some application of your lanthanide. Now we start with actinoids, that is our next transition. So in introduction, so we start, that is the last row of the element in a periodic table is actinoid series. Now it begins at a thorium, so starting material is a thorium whose atomic number is 72 and end with a lawrencium, that is atomic number is 103. So most of these elements are not found in nature, so they are man-made. So they are all radioactive and they are man-made compounds. Okay. Next, the half-life of the isotopes of a thorium is 1.4 into 10 raised to 10 years. Okay, and that of a uranium is 4.5 into 10 raised to minus 10 raised to 9 years. So next, as so long that this element exists in a rock on a earth. Okay, so next is the long-lived isotopes such as thorium, proactinium, then uranium, neptunium, then plutonium, americium are studied in more details. So these elements have a density that is range from 15 to 20 gram per cm cube and have a melting point nearly 1000 degrees Celsius and have a high boiling point. Actinoids are less reactive than your lanthanoid. For example, they react with a hot but not cold water and gives the hydroxide and hydrogen gas. So see one thing, that is the row of this is the last row. They are present in last row element in a periodic table. It begins with a thorium and end with a lawrencium. Most of these elements are found in a nature, so they are all radioactive and man-made. The half-life of isotopes of thorium and uranium they are given as. Then next is the long life of isotopes such as thorium, proactinium, uranium, neptunium, plutonium, americium they are studied. Okay, and their densities and their melting point and boiling point is given to you. Actinoids are less reactive than lanthanoid, so they react with the hot but not with the cold water and hydrogen and hydroxide and hydrogen gas. So unlike lanthanoid, they exhibit range of oxidation number that is from +2 to +8. Now the next introduction is what? That the most common oxidation state of early actinoid reflect the loss of all outer electron, which is similar to transition metal than lanthanoid. Okay, the most oxidation state of early actinoid reflect the loss of outer electron, which is similar to the metal transition metal than the lanthanoid. Next is a ready loss of 5f electron by early actinoid indicate that these electrons are much closer in energy, so that's why to the 7s and 60 electron. Then you have 4f electrons to 6s and 5d electron as in lanthanoid. So you have to compare, that is the electron there is a readily lost from 5f. Why it is possible? Because they are very close in energy to 7s and 60. So as compared to your 4f, which we compare with 6s and 5d electron. So in that case, we said that the electron is not lost from 4f, but it is lost from 5d. So similarly in this case, but the electron is lost from 5f because there is a much closer in energy to 7s and 60. Okay. Now next is all three set of orbital, that is your 5d, 4f, 5f and 7s have a similar energy. So for thorium, then next is your thorium. After thorium you have a next is one second. Next is your after thorium you have a proactinium, then neptunium. So they are a difference in energy level is very small. So electron occupy either in a 6d or a 5f orbital. In actinoid series, what happened? The 5f orbital are appreciably lower in energy. Thus, from plutonium onwards, 5f shall get filled in regular ways. So electronic configuration of actinide will be Rn 5f0 to 14, then 60 to 2 and 7s2, where Rn, that is nothing but the radon electronic configuration. The most oxidation state in actinoid is +3 and the highest is the common oxidation state. Of early actinoid reflect the loss of all outer electron, which is similar to the transition metal than lanthanoid. For example, uranium has an electronic configuration that is Rn 7s2 5f3 6d1. Next introduction is that the formation of your +6 oxidation state corresponding to the electronic configuration of radon. Similar to lanthanoid, loss of s and d electron occur before f electron. So this is the formation of +3. Means whenever your actinoid will be in a +3 oxidation state, so the electron will be lost from s and d orbitals. The ready loss of 5 electron by early actinoids indicate that these electrons are much closer in energy to 7s and 6d electron than 4f electron, okay, and R2 6s and 5d electron in lanthanoid. In turn, 5f and 6s orbital expand as they are partially shielded from nuclear attraction by 7s electron. As a result of all these three orbital, that is the set of orbital, that is 6d, 5f and 7s have a very similar energies. So the ionic radius decreases as we move across the series, which is known as the actinoid contraction. As similar to your lanthanoid contraction, why actinoid contraction is happen, that you have to explain that a ready loss of 5 electron by early actinoid indicate that these electrons are much closer in energy to 7s and 6d electron than 4f electron are to 6s and 5d electron in the lanthanoid. In turn, your 5f and 6s orbital expand as they partially shielded from nuclear attraction by 7s electron. Okay, so all these three sets of the orbital, they have nearly similar energy. So there is a ionic radius decreases and which is known as a actinoid contractions. Okay, next, this attribute to the poor shielding of your offered by your f electrons. Now next we start with a figure depicted in that contracting of ionic radii of lanthanoid and actinoid that we have to see here. Now see this table. In this table, what is your observation? If you see the lanthanide in +4 oxidation state, so that is showing by dotted line which is a blue in color. Now for our actinoid, that is +4 oxidation state. See, that is they showing the for actinoid contraction, that is in a +4 oxidation state. Similarly, they are showing for +3 lanthanide and actinide. Means when you recollect what is actinoid contraction, that is nothing but they experiences a decrease in atomic and ionic radii as we move from actinium to lawrencium, and all this can be explained that is due to the poor shielding which is offered by your f orbital electron. Okay, so similar to your lanthanide contraction, you can see similar contraction in your actinoid part also. And from this table you can correlate, that is how much your lanthanide will be contract and how much your actinoid will be contract. Okay, so in this way we complete the, that is introduction part. Next, that is we have to see the most common oxidation number of a actinoid. So see this table. If you can see in this table, there are some elements which are showing common oxidation state, that is +3, that is from actinium. Then next one is americium, then curium, berkelium, then californium, then Einsteinium, then your fermium, okay, then mendeleum and lawrencium will showing +3 oxidation state, whereas thorium, if you see, that showing +4 oxidation state, proactinium showing +5 oxidation state, uranium showing +4 and +6. Okay, then neptunium showing +5 oxidation state, and plutonium once again showing +4 oxidation state. So this is nothing but the common oxidation number of actinoid. Now next is properties of actinoids. What are the properties? See, similar to your lanthanide also, it is a silvery white in color as in appearance. Okay, these are highly reactive radioactive elements. Now see, here all are, means here what happened, they are highly radioactive in nature. So except promethium, all are non-radioactive in nature. Okay. Now next properties of actinoid will be, they experiences decrease in atomic and ionic radii from actinium to lawrencium. Okay, that is known as a actinoid contractions. Now they usually exhibit +3 as a oxidation state. Then they means the element of a first half of the series usually exhibit higher oxidation state. So these are some properties of your actinoid. So first once again we revise that it is similar to lanthanide. They appear silvery white in color. These are highly reactive radioactive elements. Except promethium, all are non-radioactive in nature. They experiences decrease in atomic and ionic radii from actinium to lawrencium, known as actinoid contractions. They usually exhibit +3 as a oxidation state. Element of a first half of this series usually exhibit higher oxidation state. Okay. Now next is applications of actinoid, where we are using actinoid. So half-life of a natural thorium and uranium isotope are so long that we get very negligible radiation from these elements. So we find in everyday use, that is for example thorium oxide, that is THO2 with 1% CeO2 was used as a major source of indoor lighting before incandescent lamp comes into existence. Only because this oxide we convert heat energy from burning natural gas to an intense light. So these are one which convert your burning natural gas into intense light. Now even today there is a great demand for this light for outdoor camping. Okay. So this is our application of a actinoid. Means first is what, half-life of a natural thorium and uranium are so long so that we can get very negligible radiation from this element. Similarly, we find in everyday use, that is thorium oxide with 1% CeO as a major source of indoor lighting before incandescent lamp came into the existence. Okay. Even today there is a great demand for this light for our outdoor camping. Now we see some similarities and differences between lanthanide and actinoid. So see, first similarities. So both the series showing +3 oxidation state. Both the series have a f orbital which are filled gradually. Now, ionic radius of this element in both the series decreases as we increase in atomic number, means there is a contraction. Next is what the electronegativity of all these elements in both the series is low and are said to be highly reactive. The nitrate, perchlorate and sulfate of all these elements are soluble, while the hydroxide, fluoride and carbonates are insoluble. Okay, so these are some similarities, means +3 oxidation state, f orbital are gradually filled, then ionic radius of element in both the series decreases with increasing atomic number. The electronegativity of all elements in both the series is low and are said to be highly reactive. Then the nitrate, perchlorate and sulfate of all these elements are soluble, while the hydroxide, fluoride, carbonates are insoluble. Next, see the differences. Lanthanide shows the maximum oxidation state, that is of a +4, and whereas your actinoid showing +3, +4, +5, +6 and +7. Lanthanoid do not form complexes easily, but actinoid have a greater tendency to form complexes with a ligand such as thioether. Third one is difference is what? All lanthanoid are non-radioactive except promethium, but actinoid are all radioactive in nature. So lanthanoid do not form oxocation, but your actinoid can form oxocation such as UO plus, PUO plus, NPO2 plus. So most of the lanthanoid are colorless in nature, whereas actinoid are colored ion. Okay, so these are some differences. So in your exam they may ask you the similarities and differences. So see, very important, first difference is what? Higher oxidation state. Lanthanide showing +4 while actinide showing +3 to +7 oxidation state. Okay, lanthanide do not form complexes easily, actinide have a greater tendency to form complexes. Okay, in lanthanide all are non-radioactive except promethium, but actinoid are radioactive, but actinoid all are radioactive. Okay, then lanthanoid do not form any oxocation, but actinoid can form oxocation. Most of the lanthanoid are colorless in nature, whereas actinoid are colored ion. Okay, now next is electronic configuration of atomic and ionic radii of actinoid. Okay, you see this table. The starting material element is actinium, then thorium, proactinium, uranium, neptunium, plutonium, americium, curium, berkelium, californium, einsteinium, fermium, mendelium, nobelium and lawrencium. So this is starting from 89 atomic number, end with 103. Now if you see the ground state oxidation state electronic configuration for this, so radon is a common inert gas, so 5F is starting from 0, okay, for actinium, then 61 7s2. If you see for thorium, still it is 50 62 7s2. Now see the proactinium. In this case your f orbital have 2 electron, because as you know there is a very small energy difference, so 5 to 61 7s2. In all this element, if you observe the, if whenever it is half filled, so see curium, in that case 5 7 61 7s2. Similarly in nobelium also 5 14 60 7s2. So see, whenever your F is half filled or completely filled, so at that time it will be more stable. Okay, so then they give you the +3 oxidation states. So in +3 oxidation state from actinium to lawrencium, your electron is lost from your 60 and 7. So 5 from 50 to 514 is electron which is present in your +3 oxidation state. Then they gives you the atomic radii in picometer and ionic radii in picometer part. Now see, we have to compare the relationship between your pre-transition lanthanoid and transition metal. In this table, if you see, pre-transition metal means essentially monovalent. They are showing group that is N plus oxidation state. But for lanthanoid, they are showing +3 oxidation state. Transition metal showing variable oxidation state. In lanthanoid, some cases they are showing +2, +4 also. Second is what? That is periodic trend dominated by effective nuclear charge at a noble gas configuration. But lanthanide contraction you can see. And for transition metal, size changes from of manganese plus less mark. Next, similar properties for a given group. Then similar properties for lanthanide also, and substantial change in a property. Now next is always they are hard. Here they are always hard and they are heavier metal. Okay. Now next comparison that we have to continue. That is its next that is our next part, that is no ligand field effect are observed in pre-transition. Insignificant ligand field effect that is observed. Then it is a substantial ligand field effect. Now poor coordination properties, that is coordination number determined by size. But here is a high coordination for lanthanide and that is determined by size only. And for transition, coordination number is 6 is a typical maximum. Flexibility in geometry, then lanthanide there is a flexibility in geometry, and for transition metal there is a fixed geometry. Then for pre-transition, no magnetism, lanthanide showing magnetism and transition metal showing magnetism. Now last is our post-actinoid. What is the meaning of post-actinoid metal? So whenever you have an atomic number greater than 92, then it is transuranic. Element from atomic number 93 to 103 are included in actinoid series, and those from 104 to 118 they are called as a post-actinoid element. Okay, post-actinoid element that are known so far are a transition metal. They are include post-actinoid because similar to actinoid element, they can be synthesized in a nuclear reaction. So far 9 post-actinoid elements have been synthesized. It is difficult to study the chemistry owing to their short lives. Okay, for example, element 112 has a half-life of 2.8 into 10 raised to minus 4 second. Okay, in this, thank you.